Hello everybody, welcome to part 3 of LoL Fundamentals. In the last video, I talked to you a little bit about danger zones, which are essentially the imaginary circles around enemy champions that indicate where you're going to be in range of their auto attacks and abilities. In this video, I want to explain just how difficult laning can be, and I think a perfect champion to display just how frustrating it can be to lane against certain champions in this game is Xerath. In this clip, I'm showing you just how far Xerath's range is. His entire kit is centered around being able to deal massive magic damage from very far away. So this champion's danger zone is very, very far and wide. If you lane against Xerath, you're going to find that you'll be in his danger zone most of the time. So you might be thinking to yourself, how am I supposed to farm safely without entering his danger zone? My answer to that is adaptation. Every lane that you go into, you're not going to be able to farm perfectly without being under constant threat of the enemy, right? So the solution I have to offer is how you can handle these threats in lane. So, for example, I want to show you in this video how I deal with Xerath as Caitlyn in the mid lane. At the beginning of the game, I'm expecting to get hit by his abilities. It's bound to happen. I'm going to take some hits here and there regardless, and it's just something that I'll have to deal with. However, the least I can do is try to secure some last hits as I take the damage. Obviously, I want to try and avoid the damage as much as possible, however, I still also want to get as much gold as I can. Remember what I said in the first video, farm is king. You can go 0, 0, and 0 and still be ahead if you have more farm than your opponents. However, I want to add real quick that I'm not just going to mindlessly throw myself at the opponent trying to get the farm. I'm not going to intentionally take damage trying to get these last hits. Because the worst thing for you to do in lane in these types of situations is to die. When you're dead, you don't gain any gold, you don't gain any experience, and your opponent gets even further ahead. So basically, I just want to try to maximize as much farm as I can while avoiding the most damage possible. In this lane, I'm going to try and move very purposefully in a way that I can attempt to dodge his abilities while getting the last hits. A good mindset to have when you're in these types of situations is to imagine yourself as your laning opponent. If I'm Xerath, I'm going to attack the Caitlyn every single time they step up for farm. So if that's the logic behind the Xerath, as Caitlyn, I'm going to try to make sure I don't step in the same places or step in the same direction or the same way that I've been getting hit by his abilities. This takes tons of practice. Everybody has a different playstyle, and you'll learn very quickly just how much of a mind game laning can be. Another way to deal with these types of lanes is to exploit the cooldowns of abilities. At rank 1, Xerath's Q is 9 seconds. His W is 14 seconds, and his E is 13 seconds. So generally speaking, every time he throws all of his abilities, I have about 10 seconds to be able to do anything I want. I obviously don't expect you to commit all of these cooldowns to memory because it's just not possible. There are too many champions in the game for you to remember the exact cooldowns of all of their abilities. However, I do encourage you to be mindful about how often the enemy casts their abilities and when they cast their abilities. If you're able to successfully dodge their abilities and understand how and when they use them, you can abuse that window of time to farm safely or to even harass them. Another thing to be mindful for is mana. Xerath is a champion that burns through tons of mana with his abilities. So at some point, he's going to run out of mana, and when it happens, you need to take advantage of that opportunity to try to go for a kill or to just farm. There are some questions that you can ask yourself while laning so that you can determine when it's safe to step up or when you should be playing back. These 3 questions are: what is the danger zone of my opponent? Are my opponent's abilities on cooldown? And can I get this last hit without taking damage? Try to find the answers to these questions as you play the game, and you'd be surprised at how fast you might catch on to your opponent's behaviors. I know that I just threw a ton of concepts at you in a very short amount of time, but what I want you to take away from this video is to understand that some lanes will be very difficult and some lanes will be very easy. In the next video, I will talk to you about a mechanic called kiting or orb walking. Thanks for watching, guys.